the cool hat on.
How you doing, Dick?
I'll be doing better after the coffee kicks in.
And,
Yeah, we'll have to take a vote on whether 9 o'clock is too early.
That gets me up.
Well, there you go. Got to have a reason, right?
Gotta have a reason. Yeah, it gives a little bit of momentum to the morning.
Yeah.
It gets me going for stuff later on.
Yeah. So Dick has an electronics company. They've got a cool lighting product to replace fluorescent lights with LEDs. So he's been pursuing that. He got a CalSeed concept award, and so he's making progress on that. So Dick, we got to get you on one of these so that you can talk about that.
Oh, he'll be here on Tuesday.
Oh, okay, cool.
replacing the bulb or the whole fixture, Dick?
Actually, it's an LED replacement for directional lighting, and it's the total fixture, not just bulbs. The first market we're going after is actually theatrical spotlighting. That's where we get the biggest bang for the buck. The biggest advantage is actually replacing the theatrical spotlights. Right now they run like 750 watts, and we can do the same thing with 80 watts. So seems to be the low-hanging fruit for us, and that's what we're going after.
Big savings and a huge reduction in heat.
That would be. We used to.
Yeah. Anybody that's ever worked with theatrical spotlights knows that one of the major problems is that you can fry eggs on them while they're operating. And
that was that we had at the Golden One Center. When I was the director of engineering, we have a big show power transformer that powers show power lights and audio. So if you don't already have an in over there, let me know, and I can definitely get you a meeting over there if you want to talk about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that I'll contact you offline. Yeah, that's one of the areas one of the areas that we'd like to get into, because right now, a theater, if they have hundreds of spots, in a typical venue, but they may be using 50 or 100 of them during a performance. So the peak current, the peak power draws a good fraction of a megawatt. So yeah, the electrical service has to be huge going into those venues. We wanted to start talking with with some of the construction folks involved with with providing the electrical service hardware for venues. Also, we wanted to start talking with secondary schools who are where they're undergoing renovation or modernization or new construction. That seems like might be the low-hanging fruit of the low-hanging fruit. It's because secondary schools, if they're renovating their stage, they're concerned with cost, they're concerned with performance, but they're also concerned with just the risk of having students handling these large, extremely hot spotlights. So I think that might be a fruitful area for us to look into that we haven't quite tapped yet. So
no, let's definitely talk about that offline. There's some consultant companies, one or two come to mind, like Venue Solutions, that does basically goes around the nation telling all the operations and show managers exactly what they need to do to reduce energy. And there's also a kind of a functional component as far as the performers and their ability to stand under those lights. So there's a bunch of ways you can plug into that, and I can definitely give you some of those numbers.
That's what I hadn't heard about, the performers that have to sit under the lights.
Yeah.
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 We'll start recording to the cloud. Or oops, that's his computer. Stop recording. All right. Okay. So does anyone have, I mean, with social distancing, any exciting weekend plans? Or is it going to be just another weekend of, I know for me, housework, I guess?
Yeah, right. Doing work around the yard.
Yeah.
So Asato, welcome. Turn your camera on. We haven't seen you for a while, Asato.
Improvement time.
There's Asato. Okay. Just want to make sure you were still alive.
Will.
All right.
All right, so we're going to head and get started. More people might come in as we do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is give everyone a link to these slides. So if you look in your chat, you will see a link to these. Let's-
There we go.
All right. Okay, so there you can go ahead and follow along and click on the links. Because I've tried to link as many things as I could in here. So that way you have the resources to learn more about what's going on. And I know Eco Alpha, they put a lot of links and ways that you can connect with them that you'll see later. First, I put these out here just in case if people need a brief update on using Zoom, you can use the raise hand function or the chat. Additionally, remember, for an effective meeting space, please pay attention to whether you're on mute or not. And when you're talking, that seems to be the number one thing. People trying to talk when they're on mute and people who don't realize they're not on mute. So I want to thank our sponsors, Blue Tech Valley, Sac State, SMUD, and Weintraub Tobin. And I want to encourage you, if you can get in here, to click and follow, or check out what Blue Tech Valley is doing. There's a link here to Weintraub Tobin's LinkedIn page, which they're putting out a lot of employment support for COVID-19 right now. And that's really important if you want to be able to responsibly return to work in a way that protects everyone that, you're concerned about it. Additionally, I want to point more people and remind more people to check out SMUD's EBSS system, their electronic bid solicitation system. I hear there are ones coming out for storage in the next couple months or so. So pay attention to them because they're going to be putting out solicitations that directly can support your business. And remember to go to the state to sign up if you're a small business or a micro business, or if you're a minority, if you're a business that is minority owned. Make sure that you go in and get qualified for those. There's the SMUD Seed Program. Or if you go and check out the SMUD Seed Program, you can learn about more ways that you can connect as a small business with SMUD. All right, some quick announcements. Our next to-do is next week at 9 a.m. with RAF Electronics. It's Richard Flask there. Our Clean Tech meetup on electrification is on the 28th of this month. Come check it out. We're going to try to get someone from the ISO there to come and talk about what they see with the future of the grids. Entrepreneurs, I really suggest you check out the Carlson Center's Entrepreneurship Toolkit, and also Startup Sacks Happy Hour. That's going to have the CEO of Trifecta. They're a food delivery or a food kind of meal prep service that delivers to you, and they've been very successful nationally, and they're based in Sacramento. Also, our CEO Crash Course, where it's an accelerator for clean tech companies that want to get a kind of a higher understanding of managing and directing their business. Gary, you want to say anything about it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty broad-based course for anybody who's thinking about it or is in the middle of a business. It's the only one in the area that's going to be tailored for clean tech companies and using examples out of the clean tech space. So we'll be covering how you research before you start a business, leadership, legal issues, low volume manufacturing, how to raise money, how to do a pitch. And the best part is we'll be having a lot of guest speakers come in, some entrepreneurs that have been down the path before and can give you some good hints, but also experts from various service organizations, law firms, accounting, etc. Learn how to do a good financial forecast for an investor. It's going to be 8 courses or eight sessions in the evening over 4 weeks. So really excited about this. We've already got like a dozen people signed up. So it's going to be a lively discussion. Please join if you can. And applications due the 20th. That's next Wednesday. And we'll let you know shortly thereafter. And then the course begins on the Thursday following Memorial Day.
All right. Next, I want to remind, I'm getting a lot of, okay. Next, I want to remind people to stay connected with CleanStart through our mailing list, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. And we're trying to get more active on all the channels. So now Instagram's in there. Also, there's the Empower Network. So if you're interested in clean tech and a lot of the solicitations the CEC puts out, this is a great place to go in and network and find people to partner with. It's their kind of version of, I guess, LinkedIn or social media on it, but it focuses entirely on energy. So if you were to go there, you can go and see, CleanStart's there. There's not really a kind of a friend or connection request sort of thing in it, but it does enable you to contact people. And also Startup Sacks newsletter. It's probably the best way to get information out. This is probably the best way to get information on, your kind of general startup events that are happening in the Sacramento region. And next, I'd like to welcome Melanie and Uzoma. And if they would like to take it away.
Well, first, I want to say thank you to the CleanStart community for inviting us to talk with you today. Really, this is a conversation about who we are as a company, the type of innovative trainings that we're putting on in the energy sector, and really how we can connect with industry professionals, and hopefully how we could partner in the future.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for taking the time to meet with us. Seems like you guys have a dynamic and innovative group, and we kind of, we're big fans of anybody who's beating the drum in the tech sector. We really see this city as kind of coalescing around green tech, and then over the next 5 to 10 years, and really taking on a really important, becoming the heartbeat of the city. So, like Melanie said, we do have some innovative programs. Maybe it's best if we describe who we are as a company and then dig into a little bit of the programs and kind of see, if there's some connecting pieces between us and the group, and then take from there.
Okay.
Let me know if you want to skip to the next slide.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh, how about this? I'll go to your guys' site.
Sure.
So that way you guys can go there.
So while Thomas is navigating, really we see ourselves as trusted industry experts, and that trusted piece is really our credibility piece to make sure that we're taking care of our clients, right, in every aspect of the 3 divisions that we operate in. So that would be environmental, engineering, and our training division. And we've worked on projects with state agencies like the Department of General Services and Training, their engineering management. We've also worked on projects with high-speed rail on their facilities operation and maintenance, and locally with the city of West Sacramento on some of their environmental monitoring. But really the impetus for us starting the company back in 2013 was really the need to fill a gap in minorities working in this space, engineers and environmental scientists in the field, and then looking at the landscape and saying, you know what, there are innovations that we can bring to the market and services where we can simply do better, right? And so that really is the genesis of our company.
Can't really say anything better than that. So like Melanie said, she's a scientist, I'm the engineer. And we've kind of combined those things into the industry best practices. We employ stationary engineers that take care of Class A commercial properties. So a lot of those high-rise buildings, data centers, hospitals, office spaces downtown. We have guys and gals in Eco Alpha shirts taking care of those buildings, whether that be their electrical systems, their HVAC systems, so on and so forth. We do have a strong environmental side, again, that does a lot of testing for state entities, whether that be the city of West Sacramento, doing water treatment testing and things of that nature. And then our training division, where we train engineers on high performance building engineering, which I think is probably going to be the strongest connector piece with CleanStart. So we essentially go through a program with an actual working workforce of stationary engineers, chief engineers, building managers who are actually in the building, and teach them best practices with regards to their specific facilities on how they can save energy. So it's really we're giving them, there's a classroom portion and there's an on-site training portion, and we give them all the tools, but then we actually show them how to use the tools within the confines of their space so they can see actual savings.
We've
Okay.
really began to expand our training, not only for upskilling the current workforce, but for K through 12 education as well. The training component really is a strong piece to make sure that ratepayers and clients understand the fundamentals of energy and energy efficiency conservation measures, and building a pipeline of energy professionals to go into fields like high performance building operations and maintenance, or become an engineer or environmental professional in the energy sector. Really, the goal is to make sure that we're connecting with communities that typically don't have these opportunities, and then making sure we're building a pipeline for success for them. Because, one day we hope to have them join our company or other companies as well.
I have a question. So when you're going and determining, let's say the training that you're going to offer a company, do you end up customizing it to the company, or do you end up saying like, hey, here's the basic training you can plug into?
So it's a combination of both. The training has some standardized metrics by which in energy training practices, but it really is a customized program for that entity, because they're going to have different job categorizations at different levels, taking care of different types of facilities. A long time ago, it was kind of one size fits all for a lot of the things with regards to facilities, but a data center engineer, a data center operates a lot different than a hospital, operates a lot different than a high-rise office building, operates a lot different than a laboratory facility. And you have people taking care of all those facilities with very different energy needs and requirements. So it has to be customized if it's going to be effective.
Another question that I have. So there's some of the companies that we've talked with in the past. I'm going to use Sierra Energy for an example. They really like the idea of being able to train up their people, but the biggest complaint they have, which I think it from kind of a society standpoint is, so what, that they train someone and then they go work somewhere else. So do you guys at all deal with that sort of concern from companies about like, why should I train if it's just going to, have people move on? Is that a question that you've ever been asked or have a answer for?
That's an excellent question. You want me to take that?
Well, I think it's a fair question to ask too, because there is a capital investment for training your staff. And we always respond to the question, to that answer with, there is a cost to not upskilling your workforce, right? Yeah. And so identifying where those costs are and being clear with our clients about how we can help maximize their staff and upskill them so that they don't leave is really one of our strong selling points.
Yeah, the capital investment actually shows, especially when you're talking about public works, state sector, federal government, it shows an appreciation for what they do because it really is an investment by the owners and managers of that organization back into their people. And a lot of times, especially in state organizations, that's what they're looking for. The people that are actually doing the energy efficiency implementation. So, at its core, energy efficiency, you can either upgrade the equipment or you can upgrade the people. Those are really your two options at the end of the day. And by upgrading the people, you can see some really quantifiable metrics as well as far as energy drops energy usage reductions and cost usage reductions, and it also has added benefits like Melanie said, as far as changing company culture, team building, and so there's a lot of layers built into improving the people with regards to energy efficiency.
And not forgetting about the technology improvements, right? So as you're upskilling the workforce, you're also bringing in the new technologies that are going to make them better operators, help them operate much more efficiently, be much more smarter in terms of their best practices. So we love to bring in what we vetted as the best tools and technologies and new pieces of equipment that are really going to help them be better energy professionals.
Yeah. And you really have to, because the technology is often the missing piece in the STEM. When we talk about STEM, the T is usually the piece that's missing, and your workforce has to be trained up on the latest and greatest, because you don't want to implement all this fantastic, beautiful new energy saving stuff and then have a workforce that's not able to even equipped to properly maintain and operate it. So they go hand in hand.
Okay.
Well, Uzoma, you had a experience with the Golden One Center, and I'm sure that had its ups and downs, but was there anything that stood out there that you learned that drove you to expand what you're doing with Eco Alpha, or what are some of the things you learned out of the Golden One Center experience?
That's an excellent question. It's very similar, because Melanie and I have had this conversation many a time. The experience you're having, one from a yes, how can I relate it back? There was a lot of lessons learned. I'm trying to condense them into an answer for you. But one, you have to invest in your people. The Golden One Center was the first, we commissioned it as the first LEED Platinum sports and entertainment facility in the country. So it had all the bells and whistles that you would have as far as energy management, as far as control systems, as far as our lead points were really across the board. They dotted, whether it was janitorial services, everything was the best and brightest from a technology standpoint at the time. But you really have to invest in the people. You really have to train them. They really have to be dynamically trained, meaning their training continues to go for the life of their service of that facility, because things are going to change. And we said, okay, well, there are gaps in this. There are gaps in the way some of the larger monolithic companies are able to move as far as being nimble enough to incorporate best practices into existing buildings. So we said we could do it better. We developed this program specifically to fill the holes in those gaps as far as the training of the people and marrying that to the technologies that are available for reduction of energy of the building. So this program is, to answer your question, is kind of the answer to the birth of the question that you just asked. You know, where are the holes and where can we fill them?
I have a question. So I know from talking with Sac State, they've been highlighting cross-disciplinary training. And I see a lot in kind of this basic going from like in HVAC engineering, we're seeing more companies that have a software-based solution as opposed to a hardware-based solution. So in your trainings, how do you see things changing there with things going more towards the software controls versus hardware controls?
So it's an excellent question as well. So if you think about it, as far as you have hardware on one side, people on the side, and the software kind of in the middle, the software, things are moving more towards a AI based thinking structure. Whereas before we had HVAC and electrical loops that were kind of on, not to get too technical, but they were on basically PID loops. So the main difference is that these technologies are smart enough and they're communicative enough and they have enough connectivity to really ask questions. The machine is asking questions throughout the day. Do I need to do this? Do I need to do this? Everybody's busy working. The HR department's working, financial department's working, engineers are working. Everybody's working the building, but nobody's really has a time to ask consistent questions of, hey, do we need the temperature to be at this set point? Do we need the energy to be, this high at these peak demands on these days? The technology, to your point, is smart enough to where it's asking those questions throughout the day and making minute micro changes to where you really can't cut energy nowadays. It's really a game of shaving energy. So the technology is smart enough to continually shave energy so that you can actually see savings.
Excellent. Well, Asado, you're a recent graduate of mechanical engineering at Sac State. What do you see as advantages here with EcoAlpha? It sounds like this would be some pretty good training for the people in the mechanical engineering department at Sac State about the real life things going on out there in the environmental engineering and energy engineering world.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good opportunity for students to be exposed to like real life solutions to things instead of like just doing like theory based.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Do you have any connections with the College of Engineering and Computer Science at Sac State?
We
That's
met EcoAlpha.
yeah. Pardon?
That's how we met EcoAlpha from Dean Smith.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that. So you do?
That's a good question. Yeah, we actually did. We did a presentation at the engineering department. Had about, I want to say almost 60 to 70 engineering students in the classroom talking to them specifically.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was. It was really innovative, and they came out. We talked to them about our high performance building engineering program, and really gave them, to Osata's point. We kind of try to be really tangible about it. We said, look, we're in a classroom right now. Let's look around. Like, literally, let's look up at the VAV box. So let's look up, how would you guys attack that as far as your job if we're looking at high performance building, practices and this and that. So there really is a piece between the theoretical and the tangible that you have to marry up in these programs in order to make them useful. And yeah, so we had a really good time in Sac State, and we do have a connection there.
Did you have any luck with the UCD and their mechanical engineering area?
We're working on that. Absolutely.
Okay.
So if
All
there
right.
are any connections,
Yeah.
either Thomas, that you might have, or even Richard that you might have at UC Davis, excuse me, we welcome those connections.
All right. Well, it's where I live. So we've been working with people in electrical engineering more there, but when I'm over in the building, let me find out some more information on the mechanical engineering side too.
Yeah, please do. I know Sac State is building a new, I believe, not Sac State, UC Davis is building some new energy centers and some things like that. And
Yeah. We had on the program, I don't know, a month or so ago, Ben Finkelor. So he's the executive director of the Energy Institute over there. So make sure that we've got that connection established for you as well. That has a lot of they've got a cooling efficiency center and a lighting efficiency center. I think they've got some other things going on there. They're one of the Cal test bed centers. So yeah, well, that would be a good way to be connected in there too.
The benefit of getting all the energy, because a lot of times energy efficiency sometimes is an afterthought, the benefits. So like we did a project, and we're currently doing a project for the high-speed rail.
Right.
Whereas even though it's 10, 20, 30 years out for certain portions, if you have to design, you have to have the energy efficiency things in the initial design elements, or else it's sometimes very hard to, backdoor them, put them in on the back end. So you really have to have that conversation with the consultants as early on early on the process as possible. So I think for UC Davis, we'd love to be looped into that so we can kind of help at least put some, jewels in there as far as energy efficiency is concerned for the next phase.
Well,
Yeah, no, that's terrific.
I want to call people to make sure that they get connected with EcoAlpha, and we'll definitely be sharing out more information on them in the future, especially with a lot of the good work that you guys are doing. For example, one thing that I know I've shared out, I'm going to go down to it next, is they have your guys' I keep putting all caps on eco. I'm sorry, guys. EcoAlpha, your SAFE program with COVID-19. You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. So our Safe Buildings program essentially is, again, we start by listening, and a lot of our programs are born out of a need. That is our response to the COVID-19 response, and what metrics, not just in response to, but on an ongoing long-term basis, are going to help building owners and occupants operate their buildings safely with regards to contagion and viruses and even future pandemics and things of that nature. So you can see on the flyer, and I'm sure we'll be able to distribute that to the team later, but it has certain metrics like whether it be fever scanning for ultraviolet, fever scanning at the building entry points using infrared cameras, increased filters, whether we're using hospital grade MERV 13 filters, enhanced sterilization procedures. But it's not just in response to COVID. We have to kind of really think about things long term so that we're just not all rushing in and doing piecemeal immediate things. There's HR components that have to be accounted for. If you're going to be scanning people for fevers, there's going to be sick days and elements that have to be taken into account with regards to every department. So it's really a comprehensive program to say, okay, this is the plan to come back into these buildings safely. And from an ongoing standpoint, this is how we're going to be, this is kind of the new normal of how we should think about working in these buildings.
Excellent. I also want to let people know that there's a lot of, and I kind of added these links in at the last second because I thought they're fairly relevant. Since we were also talking a little bit about social equity in Sacramento, there's the GSUL, Greater Sacramento Urban League. I've been to a couple of their events. They're very friendly. I got a great glass container from one of them, and also a book from one of their members about gentrifying in Oakland. It's a good book. Diversity Ventures. We've had Mariah Lichtenstern come and talk at some of our events and have had startups pitch to her. They're a group that looks to make the investments in diverse companies and have a more diverse portfolio. So I suggest people check on those links. As you know, study after study shows, the more diverse your business, the better chance it has of growing sustainably and succeeding. And also the Green Lining Institute, because they've been really partnered with a lot of CEC events. The Green Lining Institute is kind of hopefully the opposite of redlining, if anyone's familiar with that. I suggest you kind of check it out and learn more about what they're doing with the CEC and things like LACI, New Energy Nexus, and some of the other clean energy investments out there. Because one of the things that was talked about, or one of the issues that was brought up on a lot of the initial kind of investment, is that if the CEC is doing a lot of investment, they have to make sure that it's not just in one community, but it has to be equitable, which is actually one of the reasons that Empower, which I kind of showed you guys, was created so that people can go there and try to connect with different groups. So I suggest you go there, look at the groups, find ways that you can broaden your network and build your kind of company. And this is to kind of everyone out there. And if you need some help with it, contact myself, Eco Alpha. They've been, great and have a huge network of people in the area. Richard and Uzoma were talking about the Golden One Center and lighting there. So business opportunities abound, hopefully. And with that, I want to thank people for attending. RIF Electronics will be back with us on the 19th. Go apply for that CEO crash course. Electrification on the 28th. Also stay up with our additional sponsors. Moss Adams has also been putting out some really good information on how to deal with actually fundraising in parts of it during the COVID-19 issues that we're all facing here. And where our home is Hacker Lab when we're not social distancing. So when we're back to normal, please come back and hang out with us there. And with that, I'm going to end the sharing. And if anyone has any questions or anything that they want to do, feel free to come on, stay around and chat.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for attending this morning, Melanie Okoro especially. And we'll be putting this together in a video and getting it out widely to our audience. We do get lots of views that come off of that, but it's been a really great session. Really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And I think we learned a lot from it. So if anybody has any other questions or comments.
I just wanted to take a second to say thank you. It's really an exciting time for Sacramento. It feels like, just from a feeling standpoint, like we're at the beginning of our Silicon Valley with regards to green tech, the innovation, the investment, the collaboration. It begins with meetings just like this. So, you can really feel it spinning up. So just thank you for inviting us, and we're really excited to be a part of the wave.
Well, thank you.
It's been great to have you. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, no, that was it. I really appreciate it. I was hoping that we'd have more people, but Of course, since we go live, we do have people that are actually watching it live.
Yeah, we're out on Facebook Live. and
Facebook,
we'll-
LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Yeah,
Um,
so at any rate,
yeah.
great session this morning, and we'll look forward to seeing you, Dick, next Tuesday. So hopefully you'll find the coffee cup next Tuesday morning too.
All right. And see everyone in the future, hopefully.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thanks so much. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, have a good day.